Hello everyone, my name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot. In this video I want to wish you Happy New Year, provide you with a quick status update on the HUT project, specifically the flood control project, and then say a few things about loving yourself. Let me switch to the rear camera to show you what is going on here, and then I will tell you about self-love. So switching now. Okay, so let's go here. You have seen this before. I have talked about it in previous videos, recent videos. You will notice that I have added all this junk here, these doors, and further up there is some junk. We will go and see it. And the idea for all this is to hold together the soil and prevent erosion coming from above, coming from rainfall. And this has been successful. The past few weeks have been rainy. There were a lot of heavy storms, but we see that what I did here, make sure that the water doesn't come this way, it goes that way, and we will go further up. Today is sunny for the first time in a long while, and I did some work here. The reclamation, if you will, reclaiming the land that I lost to the floods some weeks ago, and you will notice that I have added all this junk here, and the idea for it is to be here such that it prevents further erosion and that it consolidates the ground here. We see here the bedrock that I broke in a previous video, and I have broken it some more, and you will notice, folks, that the stream has now dug further into the riverbed, and it's further up now. Before, you may recall that up there I had stones and I had a pile of canes, and the water was here. It was here. It was flowing down this point, and up to that point it was flat. And I didn't do this. This was done by the storms, so you can imagine how intense they were. Now it's nothing, because this is just a stream of water that is not very strong, but when it rains it accumulates all the rainfall. Anyway, let me switch to my camera and tell you about self-love. So switching now. So, self-love. Today is the 1st of January, and it is customary to wish everybody a Happy New Year. And this is a very nice thing to do, and to believe in it in earnest. The problem, however, is how do we come to terms with the substantive part of this wish, meaning Happy New Year, when we ourselves are not in a good point in our lives? How do we reconcile the fact that we wish everybody a good time, but we are not having a good time, so it's kind of hard to say those words and for them to mean something? You don't put your heart into them. So how do we go about doing that? And I think the answer is that you have to apply to yourself what you aspire to apply to others, which is kindness, which is respect, which is love. Think about the legal system. Think about laws in general, society in general. What they are basically trying to do is to make us be nice to others. Think about the law of protecting property. Be nice to the property of another person. The law of protecting physical integrity. Don't harm somebody. The law of protecting somebody's reputation. Don't harm somebody's reputation, and so on. Basically, the law is a way of saying, be nice to others. Simplifying now, but you get what I am saying. But there is no such corpus of law for matters that pertain to the self. There is no legislation which is like, be nice to yourself. And then we kind of forget about it. We talk about the others and let's be nice and all that, and we forget about our part in the equation. Like, I don't matter, so I am always in the service of somebody else, and what happens to me? Of course, you can only hope that others will care about you and thus you will have wellness coming from outside, but you cannot rely on that. This is not enough. You also need to have wellness springing from within. And this happens when you do not abuse yourself. Think about goals you have, aspirations you have, whatever those are. I will just use a random example like, oh, look at you, you are in your 30s and you don't have a stable career. Or look at you, you are in your 40s and you don't have a family. Oh, look at you, you are this, but you don't have that. There are all these expectations, all these norms, these normative goals about what we ought to do. I should, I must, I ought. And we have all these and we internalize all these. And then we measure ourselves up to that standard. And we are like, when we are talking to ourselves, hey, look at you. You are a failure for not being that which you are supposed to be, that which you ought to be. And this is something that we wouldn't really do to another person. Like, we would maybe nudge them to go in the right direction, but we wouldn't abuse them. We wouldn't call them names. We wouldn't try to belittle them and to dehumanize them and to ridicule them. But when it comes to ourselves, we have no remorse, as it were. We are like, you, talking to ourselves, you idiot, you are worthless, you are a failure. And by doing that, we are abusing ourselves. If you were to do that to another person, probably there is some law that will basically consider that a crime or some kind of violence or whatever. But the law will try to protect the other person from that kind of offensive. But you do that offensive to yourself. We do that to ourselves. And what I am asking you to consider is that this is the wrong approach. This is discrimination. Discrimination against yourself because you are applying a double standard. What is discrimination? Just to tell you what I think discrimination is. Discrimination is when you treat two equal things or two even things in an uneven way. And when you treat two uneven things, two unequal things, in an even or equal way. So this is discrimination. And I think you are discriminating against yourself when you apply a different criterion to yourself than what you are applying to others. If you are treating others with respect, you have to treat yourself with respect. Doing so allows you to tolerate the bad times or failure or a phase in your life where things are not really going your way, you have reached a dead end, and you understand that, well, I am doing what I can, but things are not working, but I will not beat myself up for that. That's not a reason to destroy myself. That's a reason to maybe try harder, or maybe reconsider whether what I am trying to do is actually consistent with what I can do. Or if it is consistent more properly with what I can do given the prevailing conditions. Because practicality is not just a matter of the talents I am endowed with, but also of the prevailing conditions. What are the circumstances rendering possible? I am here in nature at the backside of the hut, and I observe everything in the natural world, the trees and the rivers and everything, and the birds and the insects. And I notice that nature has the wisdom that we often lack. Nature shows us the perspective that will help us not beat ourselves up, which is that things come about organically, that things will happen in the right place at the right time. They will not happen before, they will not happen afterwards. They will happen exactly when they have to happen because the case, the constitution of the case, is such where the outcome is the one that is to happen. So when the tree becomes a tree eventually, it's because all the conditions were right. It's not because it was its destiny to become a tree no matter the conditions. And it's the same with us. Like, you may say, like, oh, I am so hardworking, I should have a good career. But maybe it's not to be, because there is a financial crisis, because you are pursuing the wrong field of endeavor, because any number of reasons. But you cannot just say, it's all up to me. I will assume the full burden of responsibility for matters that are not entirely my own, for matters that belong to the external world, like the case, how the case is constituted, what the prevailing conditions are, does not depend entirely on you. You are but a factor in that interplay of factors that will create the given states of affairs you are operating in, but you are not more than that. And so by saying, you know what, I am a failure because things are not going my way, you are wrong. You are factually wrong. You are analytically wrong, because you don't understand that not everything is up to you. And you are also wrong in practical terms, in terms of your approach, because by harming yourself, by beating yourself up, by discouraging yourself, you are undermining the sustainability of your efforts. So not only must your efforts, not only must your aspirations be consistent with the principle of practicality, meaning that they have to be doable, they have to be practical in the prevailing condition. So not only you are failing that test, the principle of practicality, but you are also failing the other test, which is the principle of sustainability, where you don't allow yourself to continue doing something. And even if something is practical, it has to be sustainable. You have to be able to keep doing it. And again, we see this in nature. We see that things come about organically and things unfold in a matter that is sustainable. And thus, we see the harmony that we are well aware of in the natural order. So what I ask you to consider is love yourself. Be kind to yourself. This is not a license for narcissism, a license for being an egoist and having it all about yourself. Of course not. This is about loving others and loving yourself equally. This is the idea. You don't exist in isolation. You are a member of society. You are a member of the cosmos. And so, of course, you are not the center of society or of the cosmos. So you will have to accept your role as a part in the greater whole. And this is it, folks. Please be kind to yourself. So, Happy New Year. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Do not discriminate. And thus, you will have the patience, you will have the courage to keep going and to tell yourself that I will continue trying. I will continue doing my best. I will continue in earnest. And if things go my way, so be it. If things don't go my way, well, I tried. That's all for today, folks. Thank you very much for your attention. Take care and goodbye for now.